I'm so fucking tall. This is literally the highest my camera can go. But today I want to talk about how we have to believe that empathy is unlimited. A lot of the times we withhold our empathy. We start to get bothered by other people when they are upset or they become our responsibility, and we want to look out for them. We want to show them they care. But then when they open up to us, when they start to talk to us, we rush to give them advice. We rush to say certain things in order to kind of end that situation, in order to end their suffering, right? We think that by just throwing a piece of advice out there, we can instantly solve their problem, give them a solution, and then they can just shut up about it, and then we would have kind of taken care of our responsibilities in that way, by taking care of their emotions, by just throwing advice into them and by giving them a solution that works. Then we have this deluded belief that their solution, their problem isn't being solved because they don't want to follow our solution, and then they are the ones that are being naive and stupid, and if they just followed your solution, they'll be fine with it. And I think that's such a terrible mindset to have. And this is because we think that our capacity to provide empathy for other people is limited, which it probably is, right? But we have to believe that it is unlimited. Then we will be more willing to give. And as we are more willing to give, they will have more capacity to give back. And in that strange way, the whole world has more empathy, more to give, and more love to be shared, right? A lot of the times we find it hard to practice actual empathy. When we sit with somebody dealing with something, we think about how we appear ourselves, how we want to react to it, how good of a friend we seem, how good of a solution or piece of advice that we give. But that's not what they are looking for at all. People are fundamentally searching for human connection, and if you're able to give that connection to them, that is what is the most healing. If you're able to give that time, patience, and that ability to say what you are truly feeling rather than rushing to a solution, the connection you will have in that moment will be so much better. And not only that, they will be way more willing to turn to you with their problems, because you're not somebody who rushes to give advice or somebody who doesn't actually listen to what the other person is saying. The other day, my sister was dealing with, loss of opportunity and a recent kind of a relationship, friendship problem. And she kept telling me about it. She kept almost being in tears for it in front of me and wanted my time and company and me to listen to her. And for the entire period, I completely forgot about genuinely connecting with the other person. I forgot about the power of empathy and trying to connect with them and trying to understand how they feel genuinely and genuinely listening. So I would always rush to give her solutions like, you can choose how you act despite how you feel. You don't have to let those feelings get to you. You are choosing to be sad. Instead of all these, stoic beliefs and stoic mindsets that I could push onto her, I forgot that what was important was that I showed her that I cared, and I showed her that I was empathetic, and I actually tried to understand how she felt. So I caught myself doing all that nonsense, trying to give her solutions. And I just sat with her and I genuinely thought about, how it would feel to be in that position and to deal with different things. And instead of rushing to solutions, instead of trying to be a retard about it and pushing my own advice onto her and pushing my own solutions, I just really sat and thought, damn, if I had to be in front of family while dealing with this, while dealing with that, if I was her and I struggled to show my vulnerability, show my emotions, holy shit, this would be a headache right now. I just want to go home if I was her. I just want to do this if I was her. I wouldn't want to speak to anybody. I would do this, I would do that. And just being able to voice that out in front of her, like, not in a way where you go, oh, that must suck, this pretentious way of listening where you just repeat their emotions to them so that you could change how they see you and have them respect you more because you are showing that you're empathetic rather than actually being empathetic. But you actually sit in their emotions and not try to dismiss it, not try to end their suffering as soon as possible, but instead, really sit there with the emotions and understand how they're feeling. People can honestly, most of the time, deal with the problems themselves. People all the time probably already know the solution or already know what they're going to do next. But what they want when they speak to another person is for the other person to kind of share their experience with them, to sit in the emotion with them, to realize that people are still with them even though they are suffering in that way. And if you are able to convey that through your actions, through how you respond, And it's not really about what you say, but how you genuinely try to connect with it. And that comes with believing that your empathy is abundant, and that comes with believing that you have the capacity and the time right now to really sit in their emotion and imagine how they would feel. And then you just voice out whatever comes to your head. There's no right way to do this. There's no one way to do this, but it comes from a genuine point of trying to understand. It comes from a genuine standpoint of caring and loving the other person, and really, I want to say putting yourself in their shoes, but even that sounds so pretentious and forceful. It is something that comes from no pretending. You don't want their admiration or respect, and that's why you can genuinely express how you feel about their situation. Even something as simple as like, I don't really understand how you feel, but I'm just so happy that you told me this, or I'm just so happy that you trust me enough to share this with me, and you just sit there with them. Even something like that, something you genuinely feel, no matter what their situation is, even if you can't relate to it, if you're able to just kind of show that you're emotionally there, you're consciously there with them, in whatever way possible, that is what is the most healing to everyone. Let's take ourselves, for example, right? When we share a problem with someone, as conscientious individuals come up, we already know how to solve that problem. We already know where to go next. We're not looking for a solution. We're not looking for, some explosion of ideas, because we know that we'll get back to it anyway. We know that, but eventually, if we're in a slump, for example, if you're incredibly demotivated, we're going to get back to work anyway. Work never stops. Responsibilities never stop. I'm going to get back to trying anyway, no matter how terrible I feel. And when I share this with someone, what am I hoping for? I'm not necessarily hoping for a perfect solution. I'm not necessarily hoping for this person to pity me or sympathize with me or, tell me that I'm the best or reassure me or validate all my insecurities. Not necessarily. But when the person is able to honestly sit there and just talk about how they feel about my situation, or just be there with me. Just show me that they're there with me and that they care for me, and that they will sacrifice their patience, sacrifice their capacity and their time to just sit there with me. That's the most valuable thing ever. Once you realize that empathy is a gift that you cannot stop giving. Empathy is something that you have unlimited sources for, even if it technically, scientifically isn't, but you are willing to give so much. You're going to realize that you have way more than you think to give. So you got to really learn to let go in social situations. Stop thinking about yourself. Stop thinking about how you appear, but rather how you feel and how you're going to convey that to other people. And when you realize that how you appear isn't all that, people don't really give a shit. And you can always reset your first impression at any time possible. You can always portray yourself in any way possibly, and it will still be a part of you. It will still be a facet of your character. Then you just realize that, all these social constructs, all these first impressions, or people think you're weird or all that, it doesn't really matter, and it kind of all just dilutes into and sinks into the floor beneath you because it doesn't matter, right? Then you're going to be able to start acting from the soul. And when you can do that, human connection becomes so much more fun, so much more liberating, and so much more enjoyable and fulfilling and meaningful. And that all starts with believing that the amount of empathy you can give is limitless. I love you. Good luck. It's a better